One of the great things about America is that our founding fathers made sure we had the right to act that silly. But while most of us have no difficulty accepting the presence of something as strange or unusual as frenetic kinetic sculpture racing, many of us do have difficulty accepting the presence of unusual religious groups. We went to West Virginia to meet a group of believers who, though their philosophy comes from the distant East, are as American as any of us. The Hare-Krishna movement swept through America and the world in the late 1960s. Most people remember them for two things: chanting in the streets and selling books at airports. The sale of these books helped support many of their communities, though it cast them in a bad light to the general public.
The airport solicitation hurt people's opinion of the Hare-Krishna movement because we were very persistent, overzealous. Sometimes people called us pesty, and for that we apologize. But we thought we had something very wonderful. I think it's a little like the American tradition. We tried to push it on anybody we could. But it gave people a very wrong impression of what the Hare-Krishna movement's all about, and lump us in with the Unification Church or Scientology, which we don't accept as real.
We went to their largest community in New Vrindavan, West Virginia, to find out more about the Hare-Krishnas and their beliefs.
I'm Kirtanananda Swami, an initiated disciple of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who started this Hare-Krishna movement in 1966.
My name is Kuladri Das. I'm the president of New Vrindavan Community. Been here almost 11 years.
Well, when we first moved in here, we lived up the hollow 2 miles, and nobody cared because they thought we'd never come out.
They didn't understand us, but there wasn't much to be said about the Hare-Krishnas. They were a little strange.
When we came out to the main road and started buying 1 or 2 properties along the road here, there was a violent reaction.
Well, the hills of West Virginia are pretty untamed in some places. And some of the locals, they used to take pot shots and try and scare us out.
They used to shoot at us every weekend at least.
But now, once they saw the palace developing and seeing that we were a very active group, they began to accept us.
Tourism in West Virginia happens to be the 2nd or 3rd biggest industry. And it looks like we're going to be the biggest tourist attraction in West Virginia.
I've seen pictures in India, but never thought I'd see it here in West Virginia.
It's fantastic.
Wow, this mammoth thing out here in the middle of nowhere.
Prabhupada's Palace of Gold is at the heart of New Vrindavan. It is a unique creation of stained glass and hand-painted murals, carved ebony and hand-cut marble, and everywhere you look, 22-karat gold leaf. Started in 1973, the palace was built entirely by the devotees themselves at a cost of $500,000.
As an act of love and devotion to our spiritual master, we felt inspired to glorify him. The palace originally was built as a home for him to do his translating work. But then, as Prabhupada left this world, before its completion, we decided to turn it into a memorial. When we started that, we weren't very expert craftsmen. We weren't very skilled. In fact, we hadn't even put up our first building. We began inquiring from professional men, began reading books, then we began cutting marble and doing things ourselves and came up with all kinds of new ideas and inlay work. Things like that were going on all the time. One value of bringing people to New Vrindavan, they'll see an aspect of the Hare-Krishna movement they've never seen before. People handing out books and asking for donations on the street is not very much appreciated by Americans. But when they see Hare-Krishna devotees with their sika and bald head driving a tractor or laying concrete blocks or painting a mural, they can relate to that more and they're more excited by that and we don't seem so strange to them. So we want New Vrindavan to become a spiritual pilgrimage site for millions of Americans in which they can come, spend the weekend. We want to have guest facilities available and vegetarian restaurants and so many exciting exhibits, sculpture exhibits depicting our philosophy. Exciting spiritual park. Some people call it Krishna Land. The Hare Krishna movement in America is very loosely connected as far as any kind of hierarchy. They're individually incorporated, financially independent. New Vrindavan is unique because we are trying to establish a renaissance in art, architecture, philosophy, lifestyle here, which you don't find in any other community in America. Right now we have almost 3,000 acres. We have about 275 people, over 100 children. I was I would say, a typical American young man. I went to a boys' preparatory school outside of Pittsburgh, and from there I got a scholarship to the University of Pittsburgh in mathematics, leaning towards science. And I had a typical high school career, 4-year letterman in 3 sports, girlfriends, tried a few drugs, nothing very seriously. Like I'd say, a typical American background. And I happened to meet the devotees in my 3rd year of college, and I was impressed with their discussions of philosophy about the absolute truth. Not only that they knew some philosophy, but that they were willing to practice a lifestyle in pursuance of that philosophy. People have done their papers on our movement, their dissertations, and they've tried to generalize as to what are the backgrounds of the Hare Krishna people. They're from every different background.
I'm Kusamapita. My name still is Kathy Ulrich also. I'm from Portland, Oregon.
My name is now Mahasomya Das, but my name used to be Michael Gressett, and I lived in San Diego.
My name is Tulasi Devi Dasi. I'm originally from Columbus, Ohio.
My name is Mahabhuti Das.
My name is Ruchi Dasi. I've been living in New Vrindavan for 5 years now.
I have a master's degree in fine arts.
For sociology and psychology I was majoring in.
I played some football, and I was a member of a social fraternity, Sigma Alpha Epsilon.
I went to high school.
I never thought I would become a devotee. First of all, I didn't understand everything they were talking about. I thought, how can they talk about Krishna all day long? It must be very boring.
I met some devotees at the San Diego Zoo, and their chanting was so incredible, their chanting was so attractive, that I decided to investigate.
Previously, I didn't have any religious background at all. I was pretty much, I guess you could say, an atheist. But I was always questioning my existence. I didn't understand, what the meaning of life was all about. And then somehow or other, I came across Prabhupada's books, and it was like something just happened. I just knew that was the answer.
Don't take my sikh off, Uruva. Why do we sometimes shave our heads? First of all, it's not a requisite for being a Hare Krishna. A lot of our men who do business, they don't shave their head because they have to deal with the everyday world. But for those who are serious, they shave their head as a sign of austerity, as a commitment to their spiritual master, that their only purpose in life is to become Krishna conscious. The first time my wife saw me shaved up, she was quite startled. She remembers that to this day.
He was with all these other men shaved up. And my first reaction was I ran down the stairs. Because of my upbringing, it was very hard for me even to see a religious picture, even in the beginning. Had very little training in that, even though I went to church and had undergone so many of the formalities. I knew very little about religion, true religion. And austerity and giving up anything, I didn't know anything about it.
I know from my friends, they immediately think, well, especially like the women's position, they think that the women are treated nicely. The man definitely has a dominating role, The women have certain positions where they usually do the cooking and the cleaning and so forth. And I guess, feminists, they want to be equal with the men. But here we're not competing like that. We're doing our part, and we're just trying to become Krishna conscious.
Life is a sacrifice no matter what. You've got to sacrifice in some way. I mean, I feel like I know better what liberation is than my sister does. She's more involved with a social position, and I'm more interested in a spiritual position, which is mine's eternal and hers changes from month to month.
Sometimes you'll see the devotees wearing saffron robes. That denotes them as being celibate, strictly celibate. If you can be strictly celibate, then you make rapid advancement in spiritual life. There are strict rules in marriage also. There is celibacy, that you have sex life only for procreation. Srila Bhaktivedanta was the first member of the Hare Krishna movement to take the renounced order of life as sannyas. He was the first American to ever shave his head and wear robes. He's a very dynamic leader in the Hare Krishna movement, one of the 11 acharyas, or disciples of Prabhupada set up to take their own disciples.
My father was a Baptist minister. So religion was something I was born and raised with. But I didn't really know much about Hare Krishna then. I was looking for answers as to who I was, why we were here, where we're going, and Prabhupada answered all of my questions. I've never met anyone who could answer like he did, with complete certainty. Everyone requires some opulence, of course. You see, the problem is that everyone wants the opulence for themselves. But if we take our opulence and try to glorify God, we all enjoy it. We're all completely satisfied. But it's there for everyone else to enjoy also. Just look at the devotees. They're all living on a very subsistence level. According to government standards, we're not even on a subsistence level. I mean, our devotees live very frugally. We eat very simply. One of the most costly things you can eat is meat. And we of course, don't eat any meat, fish, or eggs. And we eat simple things, fruits, vegetables, grains.
Well, I haven't became any thinner by partaking in it. It's a very healthy diet. Some people think you become emaciated. I think I'm the example of someone who doesn't become emaciated by having a vegetarian diet.
As far as the claims of brainwashing, why make a distinction between the Hare Krishna movement and any other religion or any other educational system in the world? The children are given a well-rounded education. They are taught reading, writing, arithmetic, all the basic things in education are there, and they do very well at them. But they also have to be taught that at the end of this lifetime they have to reconcile that crisis. What's going to happen to me when I die? What is God? What is the absolute truth? And that is taken up more eagerly and more completely in Krishna consciousness. At the time of death, what you're thinking about, what you're concentrating on, will be the next situation that you attain to. For instance, if a human being wants to eat a lot, he may take birth as an elephant. He can eat hundreds of pounds a day. If a human being wants to have a lots of sex life, he can take birth as a pigeon. The body of a pigeon has a facility of having sex life many times. 60 times an hour or something like that. So in that way, the material energy is giving the soul, according to his desire, he's giving the soul whatever body he wants. Our basic message to everyone is the only way you're going to become happy in this lifetime is on the spiritual platform. And that's the whole purpose behind chanting Hare Krishna. Chanting Hare Krishna is the prescribed means of God realization in this age. That is the purpose of all the Hare Krishna temples around the world, to bring people together to glorify God.
Of course, we want people to think well of us because that will help them understand what we're saying. But actually, one has to go on with their business no matter what people think. Our business is to glorify God. Our business is to spread Krishna consciousness. They may love us, they may hate us, they may want to kill us, they may want to adore us. That will change from time to time. But our business will not change.